The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back. Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, former representative of the New Hampshire House of Representatives, and today I'm joined with a current representative from the New Hampshire House from Goffstown.
Goffstown, yes.
Yes, Mr. John Hikel.
Hi, Kevin.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
John, I appreciate your service, and I know what it's like to be there and to have concerns. And you've done something a little unprecedented in this particular session, and you've called some people out. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm getting right to it. There are about 189 state representatives that, in your opinion, you feel as though they've violated their oath of office.
I do.
Talk about that.
Well, first, Kevin, thank you for having me on the show. You know, I was a resident of Nashua for 25 years. I moved here in 1985. I moved out in 2005 or 6 or so. I moved to Goffstown.
Where'd you live in Nashua?
Kessler Farm up in Tamworth Place.
Oh.
Yeah, had one of the condos from Billy Corsack built it, and had a great time, one of the best times of my life living in Nashua.
Yeah.
It's always loved coming back here. It's a great community.
Nice motorcycle trails out there, didn't they?
It's beautiful. The whole, Nashua's got an awful lot to offer.
Yeah.
No question about it. It's
well, welcome back for the show.
One of my favorite places to be.
You know, I served on the Redress of Grievance Committee.
I do, and I respected that. I saw that. I saw how hard you worked. I saw how hard the rest of the committee worked. And what really was amazing to me was the folks who felt that they had been wronged by their government, who had lost their homes, their families, their money, their basic everything about themselves. And they came in with files and boxes and papers of things to show you of how they've been wronged. And I got to see that and
over and over.
Over and over.
Again.
Right.
We've shown through committee, and we have findings in our committee, well-documented findings, where judges were found guilty, in our opinion, of the actual child abuse by separating them from their parents, by separating parents from their children. In the Jeff Frost case, we had the Attorney General's office who actually came to our committee, and they said, we misinterpreted the law. I'm sorry that it cost you $180,000 to defend yourself to the Supreme Court. We made a mistake.
Right.
After they went in and, like Gestapo, and took all Jeff stuff. And in our Constitution, it says you have a right to file a petition for the wrongs done to you.
Right. Yes.
And so those wrongs need to be fixed. And what I found to be a little frustrating, and we were having this conversation before the camera, is that although we found these wrongs to exist, whether it be fathers who've committed no crime separated from their children, whether it's the Attorney General's office who just misinterpreted the law and it cost individuals money, or somebody being separated from their home, on and on and on and on because of government mistakes. And nobody is there to help these people.
And that's why I took this on, Kevin. This is one of the main reasons. You know, my profession is auto repair. I've been fixing cars, and I started in Nashua, as a matter of fact, right next to the Dunkin' Donuts, the Mr. Donuts on Main Street. I ended up on East Hollis Street across from the McDonald's drive-thru, which is now Wendy's. I was in Nashua. I had an auto repair shop. I fixed any kind of vehicle for any kind of car.
That's right off of Harbor Ave.
That's right across from Harbor Ave. Yes.
That's where I used to live.
Yes. Oh, really? Cool. Well,
All right.
I mean, that's how, I mean, I really know Nashua. I
Right.
mean, I really know Nashua. So, you know, when you come in and your car's broken and you need to know what's wrong with it, you know, I can go over and I can start giving you all these scientific and automotive things and formulas and all kinds of things that are going to go right over your head. Or I can just say, you know what, your spark plugs are burnt, your wires are arcing, your something isn't right, and I want to bring it down to the level of the consumer who doesn't specialize in fixing cars.
Right.
And so that is how I legislate. This, for instance, this is the Constitution, and I've beat it up and read it and written all through it and highlighted it, because when I do my, when I vote on legislation that's proposed to the House, the first thing I do is ask myself, is this constitutional? Does this cover that muster? Because in early December, on Organization Day, when we all meet at the legislature and we're all sworn in and we take the oath of office, our oath of office, among other things, is to support the constitutions of the United States of America and New Hampshire. Clear. Part 2, Article 84, real clear. Read it. It says it.
It doesn't say and case law?
It doesn't talk about case law. But the second part of that oath does talk about supporting the state of New Hampshire,
Right.
which is the RSAs. So the Constitution in Part 2, Article 84 is telling us to support the Constitution of New Hampshire and the state statutes. Okay? So that's what I do. And that's how I approach all this legislation.
Right.
What brought, you know, the redress committee and and all of this other stuff that's happening all over the place looks like we're all busy, but I want to bring it back to the cornerstone. What is the reason? What is the reason that we assemble in Concord to do what we think is the work of the people? The people have elected us. They've given us the authority to act on their behalf and to sponsor and debate and deliberate legislation which is for the good administration of government.
Right.
And that's what they've sent us. That's what they sent me there to do. Frankly, when I was living in Nashua, government and legislatures and all this law stuff was really the farthest thing from my mind. Like most people out here, we're busy. We don't think about what we're doing, what we've done in the legislature. We're busy with our families, our business, our work, our recreation. But some of us choose to run for office and do get elected, and now we're in a whole new environment that most of us had no idea what we were jumping into in the first place.
Right.
So, you know, under Part 1 of the New Hampshire Constitution, and I hope your viewers out here go out and get one. You can get free ones at the State House. You can find constitutions everywhere. So when we talk about Constitution, there's the United States of America, and the state of New Hampshire has its own constitution,
right,
like most states. So why do we meet the legislature? Part 1, Article 31, meeting of the legislature for what purpose? The legislature shall assemble for the redress of public grievance and for making such laws as the public good may require. Pretty simple, right? I'm not learned in the law. I don't have a law degree. I fix cars. But I can understand what that says. It doesn't say that we're going to go up there and argue about a whole bunch of other things that really don't matter to the people, but it certainly makes us look busy. We shall assemble for the purpose, for the redress of public grievance. If you've been damaged or wronged by your government, then you bring that to your legislature, your legislators. Your legislators, through a joint session, meets with the Senate. This is what this was designed to do. We meet with the Senate in a joint session, and we find if you've been wronged together. It's the general court. It's the general court that actually set up the other courts.
Right.
It is the highest court in the state. It's of the people. It was authorized by the people. We made the judicial branch. We made the executive branch through the authorization of the people who have all the power.
And that's where the power is derived, is from the people.
From the people.
Not from the courts, not from the executive
Absolutely.
branch.
Absolutely.
Right.
So our purpose of being there, and then the other part of this is, and for making such laws as the public good may require. So if you've been wronged, we want to remedy that, and we also want to fix it so it doesn't happen to the next guy
Right.
that comes along. So that's really what the purpose of the legislature shall assemble. So, and I'm just going to take HB 135, for instance, because HB 135, it was
HB stands for House Bill 135.
House bill,
Right.
as opposed to SB, which is Senate
Senate
bill,
bill.
which starts in the Senate. So HB starts in the House. HB 135, or better known as the Stand Your Ground, the repeal of Stand Your Ground.
Right.
Right now, Stand Your Ground is in effect. You don't need to retreat if you feel that you are being threatened, and you can defend yourself the way that Part 1, Article 2A of the New Hampshire Constitution says, where every person has, all persons have the right to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves, their families, their property, and the state.
That sounds pretty clear to me.
That sounds pretty clear to me. Again, I'm not learned in the law. If there's somebody out here that says, you know, my English is different than somebody else's English, I'd love to know it.
Right.
And I hear the difference between terms and words. How many words are in our RSAs that don't really mean what they
Well, that says
What we think
we
they
have a
mean.
right to bear arms.
and protect ourselves and our family and our property and the state, period. Not if we can, or if we're able to, or if we can't retreat. It says we have the right to keep and bear arms and to protect and to defend ourselves and our family and our property in the state.
And it's not there just for
Period.
target shooting.
It's
Or for
there-
sport.
It's not there for hunting, and it's not there for target shooting.
Right.
It's there to protect yourself.
I am being facetious,
So-
obviously.
So when a state representative sponsored a bill to repeal the right to stand your ground, I mean, the sensible thing is, if you can get out of there, get out of there. Who wants to be involved in a battle, whether it's any kind of a weapon or whether it's a gun? Who wants to be? If
Can I
I have a
ask-
chance to run, I'm going to run.
Can I ask you a question? Was the repeal part of, was it a CACR?
No.
It wasn't a constitutional amendment?
No, it wasn't a constitutional amendment. So that HB 135 was actually diminishing our right, our unalienable right of self-defense, which I take as one of the most basic rights that we have.
Right.
One of the most basic rights. If we can't protect ourselves, we can't vote. If we can't protect ourselves, we can't literally do anything. We are somebody's
Slave.
And the reason that we hold the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution so dear is because that protects us from having a tyrannical government. And I know that they argue that out there, and people say, well, do you really think our government's going to be tyrannical against you? Do you think they're really? Well, all I know is I look around the world, and I see governments around the world doing it to their people.
You know,
and anybody is capable of this, and it doesn't happen here.
Was it Gibson guitar that was investigated by the IRS, the FBI?
Yes.
Was it also 3 other agencies that went in there and targeted Gibson guitar because
Yes.
of their First Amendment right to support a conservative?
Right.
And so they were targeted by their government. So
Yes.
if that goes unchecked,
Right.
where does that go? Where does that leave us? You know, the
Well,
government that can give you everything is the government that can take everything away. And it seems to me there are a lot of people that think this government can just do everything for them.
We are the government.
Yeah, I know that.
You know, we're not the, You know, I'm not the radical. I'm not the loony out there saying, you know, we got to defend ourselves from our government. What I think I'm the center of what this book, our Constitution, says we are.
Right.
And the other people that are trying to make us out as radicals, they're the radicals.
They call you a radical for believing that this. I hear it over and over again on talk radio or on a number of other outlets. Well, they're calling the Constitution an outdated book. It's 200 years old, and that's their mantra. And I don't hear people who are for the Constitution coming back and saying, wait a minute, that's a radical agenda. By calling this book outdated, that's a radical agenda, and there is an agenda behind a statement. And that's why I think the Republicans really, and the Libertarians, seem to lose ground. They're being attacked verbally. They're being attacked. Semantics are the atom bomb of persuasion, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get public opinion against the very book that provides them liberty.
Right.
And then we have the Common Core, which is going to usher in this type of thinking and totally take away free thinking in our education system if it is allowed to continue by the very same government. And they're going to take over without a shot.
They're going to take over everything. I mean, you know, and that just by saying that, you know, just by saying they're going to take over everything. I mean, that sounds kind of nutty. If me growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and you know, the government's not going to take over.
Whoever thought the IRS was going to know about your health care? Whoever thought the IRS was going to know about your pacemaker, your kidney transplant, your blood type? Whoever thought a woman whose name is Sarah Ingram was going to have control over that in the IRS? Right. And if they didn't like what your politics were, kind of like what the IRS is doing with all these other agencies, if they didn't like what you're doing, well, I'm not sure you're going to get the coverage or that transplant that you need. It is a takeover.
It is a takeover. Maybe, you know, maybe they're telling you that after a certain point in time in your life, you've used up your usefulness, and you know, it's better off for society if you kind of, you know,
reality check here. That's all. I know I'm digressing
so it is.
from.
We are, but I mean, it's an important conversation. But I just want to always come back to the Constitution,
Right?
Because you know, I mean, I love this document. Frankly, before I got elected to the legislature, I didn't read it. I knew it existed, but I didn't read it. But now, you know, if I'm playing golf, and I play golf, and I love to play golf, and I play pretty decent still. But you know, if I didn't know the rules, I could lose an awful lot of tournaments. And conversely, if the judges and my opponents didn't know the rules, I could win a lot of tournaments. Well, this puts us all on an even setting. Mm-hmm. We all understand what the rules are. This is the contract with the people to limit its government. And from there, the legislation is much easier to handle and to work with, understanding that there is a limit of what that legislation can do.
Right.
Okay, so going back to HB 135, the bill to repeal your Stand Your Ground. When that bill came out, you know, it was talked about in committee. Now, I'm just going to read Part 1, Article 30 to you. The freedom, it's called the freedom of speech, the freedom of deliberation, speech, and debate in either house of the legislature is so essential to the rights of the people that it cannot be the foundation of any action, complaint, or prosecution in any other court or place whatsoever. Kind of clear. You can speak, you can debate. Matter of fact, we want to hear what you're thinking. We want to know what the people that you represent want you to say. We want to hear that. That's what we're there to do. But I believe, and that's been since 1784, but I also believe that if the framers of this Constitution also wanted the vote to be exempt from any type of prosecution, they would have said so. Mm-hmm. But I believe that you can think wrong your whole life and nobody can hold that against you. But once you vote, once you cross that line and you do an action to remove 1 inch of my property line, or to move my property line 1 inch, or to diminish any of my God-given rights in the slightest bit without having a constitutional amendment, and when you try to diminish any of my rights through statutory law, I believe you have violated your oath of office, which is to uphold, which is to support the Constitution of the state of the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire. And
Read that again, one more time.
Part 1, Article 30, folks. Get your constitutions. Read this. This is amazing stuff. I mean, everybody knows the Second Amendment. They don't really know it, but they know the Second Amendment. They might know the Fifth Amendment if they've been arrested you know, you have the right to remain silent, right? Okay, but that's it. There's a whole book of all these little paragraphs of great stuff that all works together, and none of them contradict another one of them. They just work perfect. Part 1, Article 30, freedom of speech. The freedom of deliberation, speech, and debate in either house of the legislature is so essential to the rights of the people that it cannot be the foundation of any action, complaint, or prosecution in any other court or place whatsoever.
And how do you violate that part of our Constitution?
By voting to diminish our rights of self-defense, or probably an unlimited amount of other ways that our rights get violated daily. I mean, I hear this from people all over Nashua. When I was living here, you know, that was, you know, in my garage, we talk about stuff. Auto repair shop. I talk to my customers. I interact with them. I meet people everywhere. And when and in Goffstown and Bernardville, you know, when they come to me, they want to talk politics. They want to talk cars. They want to talk politics. And I really enjoy doing that. So we start talking about it, you know, and probably 90% of the people say, we've lost our government. We've got to get our government back. How, you know, what can we do to get our government back to the people? And I think we can argue about it for the next 200 years, or we can literally hold our elected officials accountable for their actions. And once they violate the Constitution and their oath, and or state statute 92:2 RSA, New Hampshire, in order for you to sit in the legislature and vote, you need to fill out your oath of office. And if you violate that oath of office, you shall be removed. So once you cross that line and vote to diminish our rights, you've not only violated your oath and the Constitution, but you have also violated state statute, and you shall be removed. I'm not looking to remove anybody. I mean, I've met more friends up there. I've met some of the greatest people that care more about the state than I ever imagined even existed. These are great people, Democrats, Republicans. This is not a partisan idea that I have. This is an idea that I go to Concord. I take 2 days out of my work week, and it costs me a lot of money not to be in my business, to be sitting in Concord and deliberating and voting and working for the people that sent me there. I don't do it for the rewards that the legislature pays you for, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to do this, you know, I need to be sure that there's a real purpose for this.
Right. You're not just spinning your wheels. You're
and if it's just to go up there and spin my wheels, I'd rather spin real wheels.
Right.
So I don't think, and I don't think it's there to spin your wheels. I think that, you know, we just made it. We've covered it over. We've made it look pretty. We've made it cute. We've added some colored smoke and some mirrors and all this stuff. And quite frankly, it's not what the people that wrote this book It's not their legislature anymore. Because I can go in and I go into archives, state archives, which are open to the public. You can all go and look at these state archives. There are literally thousands of redress petitions that were filed.
Yeah.
Up until 1830 or, you know, a particular time, right? Then they kind of stopped. For whatever reason, someone said, hey, we don't want this to go to the general court anymore. We want it to go to the judicial court now, and we want another group to represent you and your opinions in that court. We don't want that to be handled in the legislature anymore.
What happens when the courts end up abusing people?
That's what redress is for. That's what the legislature is for. If you can't get remedy in the courts, if you can't get a fair trial in the courts, and we hope that the balance of justice, the scales of justice, are weighted, you know, in a way that gives the innocent the upper hand.
One of the things that...
But if they're not done, if it's not done right in the court and you feel it isn't, then the people have the right to redress, and their legislator needs to file a petition of redress for them.
The first and the primary reason for this document that you hold so dear was to provide justice for the people of New Hampshire.
And it still does. It hasn't been taken away as of yet, but it's been pushed under the carpet. Don't read that. Don't look at that. I've got people calling me constitutionally illiterate. I've got, you know, I'm not learned in the law. And if they are, please, I want to know what I'm reading wrong in these words. Right. Because they certainly seem simple enough to me.
So when somebody violates their oath of office, what's the alternative? What's the process? What do you do from that point on? Somebody violates your oath and they put a bill in, and then they vote on that bill, which says, listen, you don't have a right to defend yourself, or you don't have a right for free speech, or you don't have a right not to incriminate yourself, and on and on and on. When they violate their oath by voting in, is it just going to a nebulous place into space and nobody forgets about it because it didn't pass or because it passed? What's the process? What do we do?
We've never done it before. I don't know. Just to this point. But I want to find out what happens. And of course, enforcement is really the end game of this. I don't know how to enforce this, but let's say the 189 legislators out of 400 that violated their oath to diminish everyone's rights out here, and yours and mine, and everyone's rights of self-defense. Certainly they couldn't sit on the committee if it happens to be a committee of legislature, of a committee of a House committee, and certainly they couldn't sit in the House and vote to keep themselves in office, because they're being...
They would have to recuse themselves, right?
They would have to recuse themselves because they have a personal interest in sitting on that committee or sitting in the House.
Well, that's kind of funny, because in our committee of redress, when we had it, we had a state representative who the city of Rochester filed a petition against. And
correct, yes.
Sandra Keynes.
Yes.
And apparently they were having secret meetings for 9 years without notes. And it was discovered, and it was brought to light. It was confessed to, and then they said, well, we're not going to do it anymore. And we found that case to be properly founded. There was wrongdoing going on. Right. Sandra Keynes never recused herself from voting on the finding. She voted against the finding, even though their attorney admitted to it in committee, in a public forum, and said, yes, we did it, yes, they did it, but we're not doing it anymore.
I'm a reasonable guy. That doesn't sound legitimate to me. It doesn't sound like a legitimate process.
But it seems.
But I believe it is a legitimate process.
It seems to me now, watching the hearings in our Congress or in the Senate, I don't know. I didn't see this going on. I'm not held accountable. Nobody's held accountable. So if nobody's held accountable, then what that breeds is a no confidence in your government. And if there's no confidence in your government, that ushers in something bad. And so we have to retain confidence in our government and in our officials that are sent there to uphold your liberties.
Right.
And so we have 189 representatives that did not do that. Now,
On this particular one.
On this particular one. Now,
Yes.
was an action taken to...
I filed a petition of redress.
Okay.
Well, with the clerk of the House. I haven't heard anything back yet.
News 9 do anything with it?
Nope.
How about the Concord Monitor?
No. Well, no, just negative stuff that some folks, Kathy Sullivan, which that's a, I mean, I'm honored that she wrote something so
How about the
bad
Telegraph?
about-
They mention anything about this?
Maybe they have. I don't read all the papers. I'm working every day. You know,
All right.
honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
But I know I have over 500 signatures of New Hampshire residents that are backing up these real people, New Hampshire residents, names, addresses. I mean, they're real legitimate voter. They're people of the state of New Hampshire. They want me to go forward. They want an answer, and they want to know why their rights were diminished or were proposed.
Right.
And you know, okay, so it went to the Senate, and it got tabled. A lot of pressure.
Right.
Got tabled. But you know, and I got to say that if it really wanted to end it, it would have been voted ITL. It wasn't. It was voted table. Table's a strategy that we use in the House.
You can
or in
take
the
it off
Senate.
the table, bring it on the table anytime.
You can bring it off, you can take, yeah, whatever. It's not dead.
Right. Wait till the right amount of people are in the House. If some people are on vacation, then we can
Yes.
take it off the table
Right.
and see if we can't just sneak it through the people.
That's always a fear. It can always be used as leverage against the budget because there's a budget being passed.
Right.
And you know, hey, we need a little bit of this, and we need a little bit of that, so we'll give and take. And it's amazing how I saw it happen
Right.
last time.
Right.
So you know, I know it happens. It's politics, and that's why people don't trust the politicians because they specialize in saying whatever they can to get elected. But then once they're elected, they're on their own. They kind of feel like they're untouchable. They know the people are going to leave them alone, and they just have to kind of not, you know, make too many waves with their party.
Well, we're going to be closing up this part of this interview. Where are we going to go from here now?
Well, I'd like to. I think this will help me where we can go with this. Part 1, Article 38, a frequent recurrence to the fundamental principles of the Constitution and a constant adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, industry, frugality, and all the social virtues are indispensably necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty and good government. The people ought, therefore, to have a particular regard for all those principles in the choice of their officers and representatives, and they have the right to require of their lawgivers and magistrates an exact and constant observance of them in the formation and execution of the laws necessary for the good administration of government. I mean, this is probably the most important article that I found in this book because this tells you that people have the right to keep their legislators in check. They have their right to make sure their legislators are being frugal, industrious, have temperance, moderation, and justice. And they have a right to make it, and if they don't, then I think they have the right to request or require that these legislators be removed.
How can my viewers get in touch with you to make this move forward?
Well, my email is teachgolfeasy@aol.com.
Everything to do with the Constitution.
That's right. I didn't, right? Need a break once in a while. I'm also, my cell phone is 603-860-7891. And now I own an auto repair shop in Bernardville, next to Dunkin' Donuts, near the St. Anselm's area on Mass Road.
All right. And you're going to move forward with this?
Well, I'm going to just keep moving with it. Yeah, I mean, I can't let it go because if we can't hold our legislators, if we can't hold our elected officials, local, state, federal, if we can't hold our elected officials accountable for their actions, then, you know, all bets are off. Everything, you know, let's just go wild, I guess. I don't know what to say. I mean, That is how we take back our government. That's how we control how our government treats us,
Right.
is to hold the legislators accountable, because if we can't, it's just a free-for-all.
Representative Hikel, appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure. It's always great to see you.
If you want to get in touch with John, you know how to do so. He is definitely a patriot, and we hope that this is informative to you. And thank you for watching Speak Up. If you want to sponsor the show, please write us at speakupnh@gmail.com. If you want to support the Center for Redress of Grievance, LLC, write us at 207, P.O. Box 207, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060. And we'll go from there. Or actually email us also at centerforredress@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks for watching the show. Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.